Alright, let's take a look at the most overrated footballer from every year stretching back to 2002 until the present day. 2002, El Hadji Diouf. Pelé would have made a hilarious pundit. But imagine if you're the greatest footballer that ever lived, winning World Cups before you're even out of your teens, that you might actually have an eye for a good player. No. When Pelé was asked to pick his 100 best players in the world back in 2002, he included the likes of Nicky Butt, Hong Myung-bo, and God help us all, El Hadji Diouf. Yes, he might have had a good World Cup run with Senegal, knocking out France in the groups, but Christ above, this man is an absolute stain on the sport. He tricked Liverpool into signing him, with the Reds inexplicably choosing him over Nicolas Anelka, and all he'd do there was spit at teenagers, argue with his teammates, and all in all, just be a general disgrace. The rest of his career was about as pretty as his face. Spells at Bolton, Sunderland, Blackburn, Rangers, Doncaster Rovers, Leeds United, and finally some bang average club out the back arse of Malaysia. 2003, Francis Jeffers. 2003 was supposed to be the year of Francis Jeffers. The kid was 22 years old, scoring on his England debut against Australia and looking to break into the Arsenal first team. This fella was being held up as England's next great hope. Except no, the truth is he only ever scored 3 more top flight goals in his entire life. I would list out his string of failures, but Christ above would be here all day. Let's just say that within 10 years the lad will be slumming it out the west coast of Malta. Listen lads, I've been to Malta. It's a lovely place, but their standard of football is god awful. This man's career was one big bowl of wet disappointment. 2004, Freddie Adu. This was the year that everyone started hailing Freddie Adu as the next Pelé. Yeah, pile the pressure onto the shoulders of a 14-year-old lad. That won't destroy his career before it's even started. I feel bad for this guy. His only crime was becoming the youngest player in MLS history, jogging out for DC United at the age of 14. When I was 14, I was too busy getting my penis stuck in a goddamn Hoover. I think the weight of expectation killed this man. He would get a move to Europe with Benfica 3 years later, barely played, and so then there were moves to France, Turkey, back to the US, Brazil, Serbia, Finland and Florida. This man wasn't so much a footballer, he was practically living out the life of a goddamn travel agent, living out of a suitcase for 15 years and disappointing nearly every set of fans he ever turned out for. The kid is currently 30 years old and no doubt sitting down the job centre, having been released by Las Vegas Lights FC last year. Poor lad, just suffocated by hype. 2005, Robinho. 2005 was the year Real Madrid had a 13-year-old Neymar in their clutches, yet chose not to sign him, instead snapping up 21-year-old Robinho from Santos. The Brazilian was an exciting, pacey winger, again like it to Pelé, but within 3 years he was signing for a club who months earlier had forked out for Benjani and Talbot Haim. This was the turning point where Robinho's career took a nosedive. In 2010 he was dumped back to Brazil on loan, then spent 5 years at a dying AC Milan, then he was back to Santos for 6 months, then China, Brazil again, Turkey, and now at the age of 35, the man is avoiding jail time at the back arse of Istanbul. I mean yes, 100 caps for Brazil is impressive, but you have to say this man's career has been one giant letdown. 2006, Theo Walcott. Arsenal ready to gamble 10 million on the next Henry. What do we think lads? Did Theo Walcott ever become the next Thierry Henry? Not a chance. 2006 was a whirlwind year for this kid. Not only was he snapped up in January from Southampton as a 16-year-old, while sporting a shirt that was at least 3 sizes too big, he was then chucked in the England World Cup squad despite not having a single minute of Premier League football under his belt. I can only assume Sven-Göran Eriksson had accidentally snorted a bowl of glue that very morning. He started his Gunners career brightly, scoring in a Carling Cup final soon after, but let's be honest, his 12 years at the club were disappointing, and now he's currently struggling to get off the bench at Everton at just 30 years of age. 2007, Michael Johnson. You have to feel sorry for this man. Back in 2007, he was breaking through at Man City under Sven-Göran Eriksson as a sprightly 19-year-old midfielder. The man scored a stunning winner against Derby County in August, the first goal City had scored at home all year. Yes, this is what the club were like before money, lads. Suddenly Johnson was being hailed as City's saviour, the next Steven Gerrard, the greatest thing since Colin Bell, future England captain. He retired 5 years later after several injuries, loss of form and just general threats to his mental health. Poor fella, I mean I hope he's doing alright nowadays. 2008, Bojan. If you break through at Barcelona as a teenage forward, you're always going to be compared to Lionel Messi. Although it did seem a bit mad to proclaim that Bojan was the next Messi when he was only 3 years younger. But yeah, after scoring 12 goals during the 07-08 season, Barca fans were predicting Bojan to become their new god. No, the goals fell off and he was soon spat out to Roma, then AC Milan, Ajax, before wasting 5 years of his life at Stoke City. The lad is 29 years old and now spending his days stuck out at Montreal Impact, where he is probably having no impact. 2009, Alexander Pato. Again, Alexander Pato was supposed to be the next big thing. To be fair, he just scored 18 goals for AC Milan as a sprightly 19-year-old forward. The man was even crowned winner of the Golden Boy Award. Then injuries hit, the goals dried up, and within 4 years he was back in Brazil with Corinthians. He's only returned to Europe once more, playing twice for Chelsea in 2016 before flopping out of Villarreal, spending a couple of years buffing up his bank account in China, and now at the age of 29, he's again back in Brazil with Sao Paulo. Oh yeah, and he hasn't played for his country since he was 23. And lads, considering human toasters called Fred have started World Cups up front for Brazil, that is pretty damn embarrassing. 2010, Mario Balotelli. I think everyone wanted Mario Balotelli to live up to his billing. The man had all the confidence of Cantona and and the motivation of a sack of expired eggs. Back in 2010, the man was a Champions League winner at the age of 18, receiving the Golden Boy Award, and within a few months, he was wrapping up a £20 million move to Man City. The lad who's already been talked about winning the Ballon d'Or before he was 23. By 2013, the man had been dumped back to Milan via HC this time, who was still finding the net regularly before failing at Liverpool. Since then, it's been 19 goalless games back at Milan, 2.5 seasons at Nice, 6 months at Marseille, and now at the age of 29, when the man should be in his prime, he's signing for newly promoted Brescia. Oh yeah, and he went 4 years without playing for Italy, missing Euro 2016 and the World Cup. Then again, every Italian missed that World Cup. 2011, Ross Barkley. I still remember the game. August 2011, Everton somehow lose at home to QPR, but a 17-year-old Ross Barkley was the one who stole the show. Driving through the hoops defence time and time again, this raw, exciting talent was suddenly hailed by all angles of the press. Next Rooney, next Gaza? Nah, he's currently a £30 million flop stuck on the bench at Chelsea, and he's only 25. This was a man who was outlining his ambitions to become world class just 18 months ago. Yeah, Ross, I don't think that's going to happen now. 2012, Eric Lamela.
All eyes are on the next Messi.
The amount of players who are supposed to be the next Lionel Messi. Guess what? There's only one of them, lads. Eric Lamela was 20 years old in 2012, a rising star at Roma, scoring 15 goals that season. Yes, one of the most exciting talents in football. He was soon a club record signing for Tottenham, identified as the perfect replacement for Gareth Bale. He scored 14 league goals. 14 goals in 129 games. He scored more in his last season at Roma than he has in 6 years in London. Jesus Christ, Spurs should honestly get their money back under the Trade Descriptions Act, because they bought a goal-scoring winger, and they definitely didn't get it. I bet you know he's going to score at the weekend. 2013, Adnan Januzaj. Remember when Adnan Januzaj scored a couple of goals to Sunderland to rescue David Moyes from yet another potentially embarrassing defeat? And by the end of the week, had about 5 countries fighting over his goddamn passport. Even the FA were trying to convince him to choose England. The lad was suddenly getting linked with a £40 million move to PSG. I maintain, the only reason he stood out was because that United team looked so bad. All Januzaj had to do was sneeze in the direction of a goddamn goal and he'd have looked half decent. He didn't make it, barely played under Louis van Gaal before he spat out to goalless, non-existent loan spells at Borussia Dortmund and then Sunderland, reunited with Moyes as they finished bottom of the league. He might have had some talent, but the kid had all the strength of a wet paper bag. He's currently in his 3rd season with Real Sociedad at the age of 24, very much having found his level. 2014, James Rodriguez. I remember after that 2014 World Cup, where not only did James Rodriguez win the Golden Boot in just 5 games of football, he also banged in a goal in the tournament against Uruguay and sealed a blockbuster move to Real Madrid. The lad had spent the summer torching World Cup defences alive. Suddenly everyone was hailing him as a future Ballon d'Or winner, especially as he was still only 23 years of age. Rodriguez is a decent player, as he proved on loan at Bayern Munich, but he's never settled in Spain, and he's only been kept around as a potential makeweight for any other deals. It's clear Zidane doesn't see a future for him, and no, he hasn't lived up to his potential. 2015, Jordan Ibe. Maybe he was a form of alleviating stress, a coping mechanism, but during the summer 2015, Liverpool fans were desperately trying to convince themselves that it didn't matter that Raheem Sterling had hopped a bus to Manchester. They already had a much better player in their books in Jordan Ibe. I'm not sure where this delusion came from. The lad only scored 1 goal in 40 odd appearances for the club. He's gone and scored 2 in 74 out of Bournemouth. Lads, Sterling has already scored more top flight goals this season than Ibe has in his entire 8-year career. I know Ibe is still only 23, but let's face it, he's not very good. 2016, Renato Sanches. I think it's time we all accept that we were wrong about Renato Sanches. 2016 was no doubt the best year of this kid's life. At just 18 years of age, he was winning Euro 2016, being awarded the Golden Boy Award, and earning himself a move to Bayern Munich. Since then, his form has fell off a cliff, making 0 impact in Germany, spent 9 months stuck on the bench of a Swansea side who were getting relegated, and now in 2019 he's just been sold to Lille, where his career will no doubt now die in the shadows. 2017, DOMINIC Solanke. I'll never understand how at the age of 21, DOMINIC Solanke has already played for Chelsea and Liverpool and earned a £20 million move to Bournemouth. I say earned, I mean he didn't earn it at all. Whoever controls the Bournemouth transfers must have melted off their brain when they agreed to that. In 2017, yes, he was banging in goals for the England under-21 side, winning the golden ball as they won the World Cup. But lads, this was underage football. He was up against a bunch of kids. Why he was called into the senior squad for a friendly against Brazil, God only knows, because all he's ever shown in top flight football is his inability to trap a ball or even look as though he's capable of sniffing out a goddamn goal. 2018, Alexander Golovin. Again, another World Cup star that hasn't really done much since. Alexander Golovin lit up the group stages for Russia last summer and suddenly found himself linked with the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea. He went to Monaco instead for €30 million, and the 23-year-old playmaker has been a complete and utter disaster. Never trust footballers on the strength of a good tournament, lads. That sort of stupid short-term thinking nearly had Milan Barros signing for Real Madrid. 2019, Sean Longstaff. Yeah, this is harsh, isn't it? It feels harsh. Look, don't get me wrong, I rate Sean Longstaff and he can go on to have a very good career, but I can't be the only one who nearly choked on my own saliva when I saw him linked with a £50 million move to Man United this summer. This is a fella who played just 8 Premier League matches in his entire life. 50 million quid for a lad who a year ago wasn't deemed to be a better player than Mo Diane and was nearly spat out to Portsmouth on loan. He's a good player, lads, he's playing well, but let's not proclaim him as a world beater yet. It's that sort of talk that had Liverpool waste 35 million quid on Andy goddamn Carroll.